Ciao ragazzi! This is Talk Calcio TV on YouTube. Ciao! Welcome back to Talk Calcio TV on YouTube. In this episode we preview tomorrow's big Champions League game, that is Shakhtar Donetsk of the Ukraine taking on Roma, the Giallorossi. So what do we know prior to this game? Of course, Roma unexpectedly won their group in the Champions League, which featured Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. You know, you thought at first that was the group of death. Roma came through it unscathed and top of the group. Shakhtar Donetsk, on the other hand, they came runners-up in their group to Manchester City. Of course, they also had to fight off the likes of Feyenoord and, of course, beat Italian side Napoli. Now, going into this game, of course, Shakhtar Donetsk also won all three of their home games in the tie. I said when the draw was made back in December, I said Roma have probably not... They've avoided one of the big guns. They avoided Manchester United and a few of the other teams second. But Shakhtar Donetsk is no pushover for them. In this episode, we're going to tell you why. So what do we know about the Ukrainian side, Shakhtar Donetsk? Well, they were formed in 1936. That's 81 years ago. In fact, it was 11 years after Roma were formed in 1927. They are nicknamed the Miners due to the mining heritage in the Ukraine where they are from. Their colours are black and orange stripes. They are managed by former Portuguese international Paulo Fonseca, which I'm sure you all remember dressed as Zorro after they beat Manchester City in the Champions League and qualified for the knockout stages. In 2009, they became only the second Ukrainian team to win a European trophy. Of course, they won what was then the UEFA Cup, now as we know as the Europa League, beating Werder Bremen in the final. Goals that day from Luis Adriano and Jadson was enough to give them the trophy that day. In terms of famous players for Shakhtar Donetsk, of course, look no further than Henrik Mkhitaryan. He scored 38 goals for the club before he was sold to Borussia Dortmund in 2013. He has since gone on to also play for Manchester United and is now at Arsenal. He was named Ukraine Footballer of the Year, of course, the Armenian international. You'd also remember in 2007 and in 2008, they had Italian journey striker Cristiano Lucarelli. However, he was gone after one season, having only scored just 4 goals for the club. Now, Donetsk's record against Italian teams in Europe reads played 18, won 4 and lost 12. Their first win against Italian opposition came in 1976 against Juventus in a second leg of the UEFA Cup as it was then. However, it was Juventus who had the last laugh after they'd won the first leg 4-0. So Donetsk went out on aggregate there. The 3 other wins have actually come against tomorrow night's opposition, Roma, as luck would have it. The teams first met in 2006 in the Champions League. It was a 4-0 win for Roma. Goals that day from Rodrigo Terrai, Francesco Totti of all people, Daniele De Rossi, as well as Chilean and David Pizarro was enough to win that day in the group. However, Roma have lost all 3 meetings against Shakhtar Donetsk since then. Good omen, isn't it? Currently, Shakhtar Donetsk are playing 150 miles north of the city of Donetsk. That is due to the war-torn conflict going on in the Ukraine at the moment. They are also without their inspirational captain, icon, so say all-time greatest ever player, Croatian skipper Dario Srna. Now, he failed a drugs test towards the end of last year, so he is banned. He will not play tomorrow night. On the Roma camp, of course, we listened to Eusebio Di Francesco's press conference earlier on. Alessandro Florenzi is likely to miss the game, Di Francesco claiming he has a stomach bug. So what are our predictions ahead of tomorrow night's game? Well, it's fair to say, I mean, we go on previous records, of course. Donetsk have beaten Roma 3 times, Roma with just the 1 win since their first ever meeting. Now, when it comes to, of course, Ukraine have only played 1 game in 2018 so far, so you wonder if their freshness or lack of sharpness, which will it be to their advantage or disadvantage there. Roma, until a few weeks ago, looked like a club in crisis. They were their 5th in Serie A. They were below Inter Milan and Lazio, but their 3 straight wins on the trot, bear in mind they hadn't won in 7 games before that, has dragged them up the table to 3rd place. And like I mentioned just now, if Cengiz Sunder had been used earlier in the season by Eusebio Di Francesco, they could even be possibly higher than 3rd. Who knows? When it comes to the Champions League, of course, Roma, as we mentioned, they won the group of death. You know, back in November, December, it all looked good for Eusebio Di Francesco's men. So who are the key men tomorrow then for both sides? Well, from a Shakhtar Donetsk point of view, you'd have to say it is the Brazilian international Bernard. Known for his trickery, his pace, his speed down the wing. He will surely keep the Giallorossi backline on their feet. He has scored already 8 goals for them this season. And sadly, if you're a Donetsk fan, you don't want to hear this. Given the war-torn country's problems right now, he said that he has considered moving out of the Ukraine, saying his family do not feel safe. He will feature tomorrow night though, I'm sure, so don't worry there, all fans of Donetsk. When we look in the Roma camp, now a week ago I'd have said Roma were a one-man band and the key man was Edin Dzeko. However, that all changed since they beat Verona in Serie A. Of course, Cengiz Ünder, the Turkish international, he has not looked back. He has scored 4 goals from 3 starts. Of course, signed for €15 million in the summer from Turkish side Başakşehir. Now, at first, him, like all the other signings, were criticised. Monchi was criticised for poor recruitment, given they sold the likes of Mo Salah, Antonio Rudiger. However, he is now showing he's delivered in every game he's been started. You just think to yourself, why did Eusebio Di Francesco not use Cengiz Ünder earlier in the season? They're third now. They could possibly be higher. They could possibly be challenging for a Scudetto. You just never know. It's fair to say a problem was the lack of goals. Patrick Schick couldn't do it. Cengiz Ünder is now obviously Roma's secret weapon, and he looks revitalised right now. That is for certain. Now, of course, in their leagues, Donetsk have only played 1 game in 2018, of course, which they won 5-0. Roma, however, at the start of the season, in the Champions League was where they surprised many. You saw them playing in there, and you thought, Di Francesco is a coach for the future. It seemed that after the Champions League draw was made, that was when things started to go wrong for Roma. Of course, they didn't win for 7 games. They lost to the likes of course, Juventus. They failed to beat Inter, even other clubs right in and around them. And there was, you wondered if Di Francesco was a dead man walking. However, since starting Cengiz Ünder and that win against Verona, they have won 3 games on the trot. They have gone from 5th to 3rd in Serie A, and what make it even better, they are above their cross-city rivals Lazio. Our prediction for tomorrow night's game then. Now, I already mentioned, of course, that Shakhtar Donetsk do have a better head-to-head record with Roma. Of course, they've been winning 3, the Giallorossi winning just 1. Now, of course, Roma are away tomorrow. They really, in my opinion, for Roma, they must score tomorrow or avoid defeat at least. You'll say that's stating the obvious. But the last thing they want to do is to go back to the Olimpico 2-0 down. You don't want Donetsk scoring 1 at the Olimpico where, say, Roma need 3 goals or something. If Roma can do what they've been doing the last few games in Serie A, of course, I'm not comparing Shakhtar Donetsk to the likes of, say, Verona or Udinese. But if they can just get in their faces and if they can get that away goal, I think that'll put more pressure on Donetsk. Personally, I think this one is going to end in a draw tomorrow night. We're going to sit on the fence here. We're going to go for a 1-1 draw. Roma must obviously have this tie ready to go back to the Stadio Olimpico to see the tie through. I said when the draw was made also, I said they've avoided big guns like Manchester United, but Donetsk will be no pushovers, and that's for certain. So we will watch the game tonight, and after we will bring you our reaction at the time. So don't forget to tune into the big game tomorrow and our reaction afterwards. So thank you for watching this episode of Talk Calcio TV. Don't forget to subscribe, comment or like below. Just a quick reminder, this weekend we are going to be in Rome, the Eternal City, for the big clash on Sunday in Serie A. That is Roma, the Giallorossi, taking on AC Milan, the Rossoneri. The big game at the Stadio Olimpico, we are going to be there. But all weekend we're going to be round Rome, sightseeing, bringing you all the build up to this game and all the other major talking points and other fixtures. So don't forget to subscribe to Talk Calcio TV on YouTube. Join us for our very own Roman holiday. Ciao Roma, arrivederci.